And welcome back to Nifilmism.
I'm Drew.
I'm Ryan. Drew, intro.
Ryan, there was a time where I bought comic books weekly, and recently I watched a movie that it took me longer than I should have that made me realize, man, I fucking miss comic books. And that movie is the amazing, spectacular Spider-Man Edge of Spider-Verse.
Edge of Spider-Verse? Or Into the
Into the
Spider-Verse?
Spider-Verse. It's based on a comic book arc that I read, and you would have never thought that they would have thought, hey, how do we get people to watch another Spider-Man movie? Let's animate it awesomely, make it super good, and use a bunch of different Spider-Men.
At first, when I heard about this, if it's not called Batman Mask of the Phantasm, I usually don't get into animated comic book stuff very often.
To me, I put it aside because it reeked of, oh wow, Sony's still really fighting tooth and nail to keep the license.
But it's on Netflix, so I didn't have to.
Of all of the Sony pictures,
yeah,
Spider-Man movies,
this is
unequivocally the best one.
I frankly probably would have skipped this one if it hadn't been
cheap. Yeah, I
put on Netflix.
I would have waited until it was either on Netflix, which is what I did, or it showed up on HBO when I was bored someday. But
I'm glad I watched it.
Everybody who said good things about it is correct. It's very fun.
It has Nicolas Cage, which if you go back a couple of episodes, we were talking about Mandy. So I just feel out of the gate that we do need to address the fact that Nicolas Cage voice acts one of the versions of Spider-Man, and that alone made the movie for me. But do you want to quickly go over the plot?
Yes. It's loosely based on a miniseries called Spider-Man that was super popular. That was about Prime Universe Spider-Man jumping over, I think, into Ultimate Universe, where Miles had replaced the original Ultimate Spider-Man who had died. And everybody's like, wait, why did it take you so long to think of using both Spider-Man characters who are both really fun together? So then Marvel's like, oh, this printed money for us, so they came up with the larger aspect of this Spider-Verse concept. And the comic arc is very dumb comic booky, but similar to the movie, they all group together because they're all pulled together. In the comic, it's a much more like grandiose thing. In this movie, it's just probably, other than the Netflix version of the Kingpin, the most frightening version of the Kingpin, because he just kills people in an animated movie.
But he still has a slightly sympathetic
Yeah, he's far more sympathetic than, more in line with like some of what he shows in the Daredevil comics. But you get only enough of his character because this movie's about Spider-Man characters.
Right.
And it's fine.
Yeah, Kingpin develops this weird technology to open up a portal to another dimension because, or a multiverse thing, because he's trying to get back his wife and kid.
Yes.
Who died. So he figured, go into a parallel universe and get them back that way. Mm-hmm. But when he does that, it opens up this rift, and all of a sudden you get a bunch of different Spider-Men.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
it's really fun, and it could have worked as like some nonsense big budget movie, like if they really wanted to, like if Sony and One Big Go wanted to be like, well, we're gonna get Maguire back, we're gonna get like everybody who's played Spider-Man, and like people would probably think it would be great, but like it works because it's animated. There's some really weird, fun visual effects that happen, and certain characters have certain art styles that have to exist for their character, for like you to realize like, no, they're totally like from a different dimension.
You've got the anime one, you've got the noir
Penny
one. Now I have not had my pulse on Spider-Man comics since about the mid '90s. The last one that I bought was, I just remember Spider-Man fighting Hobgoblin Demogoblin, one of the two, in a burning warehouse, and that's about the end of it. I just, back when it was still kind of normal.
What the movie does is
are all of these characters actual comics?
Yes. Spider-Man Noir is Spider-Man Noir is a miniseries. Spider-Pig, I think, has had a couple of one-shot issues. Miles Morales replaced.
I know Miles Morales.
Yeah, Miles Morales
not,
replaced Ultimate Spider-Man in the Ultimates line, which then they killed that entire line and folded in the good characters like Miles into the regular Marvel universe. Trying to think, Penny Parker. I think when they did Edge of Spider-Verse, I don't know if each character got one issue. So Penny Parker got one issue, and I like anime and I like Spider-Man, so that character was like super fun. 'Cause it was like, oh my god, somebody like basically made an Evangelion character a Spider-Man. What a clever concept! But like, every character in the comic that also shows up in this movie, there's many others, but they got like their own issue. So you got like their origin story, and it was like weird. It was like I'm reading the origin story of like somebody else's. Like it's almost felt like you got a comic from a different universe, and you're like, weird. This is like the me with blonde hair that skinny's like Spider-Man. Like it had that very feel, which was really cool, which comic books can do, and the movie does well. Is to like show that, and of course the breakout character from all of that was Spider-Gwen. Spider-Gwen is like a merchandising force, and I think a lot of it is because her design is fucking incredible, and it's a great use of a character that originally just served a purpose to die to make Spider-Man a more interesting character. In a, hey, this is just in the toy box, why don't we do something creative with it? And it took off and rocketed. Like, she's become almost like Deadpool tier of like, not overexposed, but like, people are kind of like, okay, like, we get it, enough. Because she's been that popular.
I'm shocked that they haven't done anything with her live action yet.
Yeah. I could see it eventually happening. Because like, even in continuity, granted, I haven't read regularly for about like 5 or 6 years now, but like, she is from an alternate dimension where they kind of tease a little bit of it, like her Peter died because her Peter was the Lizard.
Well, they get into that in the movie.
Yeah, you only see like one scene of it, like she's like, my best friend died, and he's got scales, and I'm like, that's cool because that's stuff that people like me are like, you're glossing over stuff, but you're still acknowledging it.
But even someone like me who's never read that, I saw it. Oh, okay, in this universe, Peter Parker became the Lizard because I know who the Lizard is. I know Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So seeing him as the Lizard, her as the Spider Person, was kind of a neat. Oh, okay, alternate dimension, cool.
Yeah,
I get it.
There's a lot of that.
Feel forced.
It's a very like people like us who like sci-fi. This type of stuff is like our bread and butter. Like I like alternate takes on stuff like that. Like in one of the Spider-Verse characters in one of the books was I think his name's like Pabtar Pabrikar, and he's literally just Indian Spider-Man.
Okay.
All that's different is he wears Aladdin pants, and his spider looks a little bit more like Indian looking. But he just wears Spider-Man clothes, and he's Spider-Man because that's just what the character is. But no, like you get Spider-Man Noir, who is like he literally sells everything like he's just hard-boiled noir all the time. He can't see color.
So they got this gag with a Rubik's Cube, which I thought was hilarious.
Yes. Yeah. I'm taking this. I don't understand it, but I'm taking it.
And that's the Nicolas
Is this
Cage
purple?
character.
Is this purple?
No.
But yeah, there's certain things, unfortunately, like knowing Miles' story that come in the movie that you know are coming. Like they're telegraphed, but like you already know, like, oh, I know his uncle's the Prowler because it's Miles Morales, and it's like, oh yeah, of course that's the payoff. But
and a lot of it too is very standard fare in terms of, okay, typical arc, you get your powers, the rest of these spider people are more established.
Here's just a question. You don't read modern comics. Do you like Miles after watching this movie?
Yes.
Miles is a fun character, and this movie does what because a lot of people like here's just the slight dip into the pool of Ultimate Spider-Man. The Ultimates was a line created, I want to say 2000, right about when they were starting to think about doing the cinematic universe, where they're like, there's too much crap backstory in comics. Because to this day, like, stuff that happened in Spider-Man in, like, 69 still happened to Spider-Man. So, like, you might have to, like, backtrack or recap that plot every once in a while. But they were like, no, we're going to start this Ultimate Universe. Everything's slate zero. Writers can do whatever they want, as long as the heart of certain characters is there. Every single issue up until his death of Ultimate Spider-Man was written by one person. So there is a complete tonal consistency throughout that. And it's one of Marvel's best comic runs. I've never read it because I never read Ultimates. But a lot of people are like, Ultimate Spider-Man is different in this movie. He's older. Ultimate Spider-Man died when he was like 15. The Punisher shot him.
Christ.
Trying to kill Captain America.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay. They didn't include that in this.
No. I'm glad they didn't.
Yeah.
I'm glad they didn't. But what they did
Well, I mean,
keep
that would be a weird
aspects
thing,
of are how good his funeral is.
Yeah.
Ultimate Spider-Man's funeral is heart-wrenching because he's like 15.
Yeah, I think they age him up quite a bit in this. He's like 26.
He's like
He's a grad student.
Peter B. We'll get into Peter B. Parker. Schlubby Peter. But yeah, he's like 23. They aged him up because I think they realized
a 15-year-old in a cartoon might be bad.
And they wanted Miles to have a mentorship, even if it's for like 5 minutes, before you have the schlubby mentor in Peter B. Parker.
Right.
But yeah, so spoilers, Ultimate Spider-Man dies right after Miles gets his powers.
Murdered brutally by the Kingpin, we
Yes.
should add. So.
And Miles is like, oh crap, the only other person who could possibly teach me how to use this is gone and left me with the task of making sure I solve the problem. And then that's where you meet that's where you finally realize that, oh, the machine did bring another Spider-Man over here, and it's Peter B. Parker, the loser Spider-Man.
And, well, it brought over 2 at first, right?
Yes.
Because Gwen...
This is a huge plot hole, because as soon as Miles and his Spider-Man meet, their spider senses react.
But
that never happens with Gwen. But knowing comics, Gwen's not from there. So it's like, maybe Gwen's from his universe. So maybe that was just a red herring for people like me. But it's like, it's kind of a plot thing, because when he meets any of the other Spider-Men, they all react. They all have their spider sense react. But, yeah, so Peter B. Parker shows up, and it's like, oh yeah, I got pulled in. I gotta get back home. Oh, you broke the flash drive. Well, I guess we gotta go do Spider... Because he's like the jaded, like, I've been doing this for longer, and my life's kind of shit because of it. But I'm still able to do it, even when I'm half-assing it. And that's like the early part of Miles learning, in quotes, how to be Spider-Man.
It reminded me a little, there were echoes of Fat Thor.
Yes. Yeah, he's just like, just give me the doohickey. What was he called? The goober. He's like, there's always something. I just call it the goober.
I almost wish he would have said MacGuffin.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been amazing.
That would have been so good. But
there is a bit of fourth wall breaking, because when they with Spider Pig, is that his,
Spider Pig,
when he says that's all, folks, and someone says, can we legally say that?
Yeah, is he legally allowed to say that?
So, yeah, it was just something that we threw on the TV, and it was on Netflix. We heard good things.
I think it's funny that it does make light of how often you've seen the origin story. Like, every time they're like, okay, we'll give you the quick, and it's like Spider died, Flash here.
Yeah, it was funny. My girlfriend's actually the one that suggested watching it, and I'm kind of glad she did, because it was one of those things that I was just going to put in my queue and maybe one day.
Yeah, get around to possibly.
Yeah, and she said, no, I've heard good things. Let's watch this, and that's what we did, and here we are talking about it.
Yeah, it's in line with how Marvel's kind of taken back how they want the character portrayed, regardless of whether it's Miles or Peter. Like, there's Spider-Man. Spider-Man's like pornography. You don't know it until you see it, but you know it when you see it. Like it's you can't just do anything in the suit and make it Spider-Man. Like, there's a certain like charm to that character and his power set. Like, how he's really strong, but he's street level strong.
And I didn't feel like the character of Miles felt like a lot of teenagers in fiction feel forced. I didn't feel that he felt forced. I felt that he actually portrayed it. I guess look, I'm 34. I'm not a teenager. But
it's worth saying, because Marvel's had a run, at least even when I was reading, where they were really trying to push, because they knew kids were watching the Marvel Universe movies, and they really wanted, like, we want kids to buy comic books, which is laughable in and of itself, because they would just buy them on tablets or steal them on tablets. But no, there was like a long run of like, we're gonna make like a teenage hero, and anybody like who was just like, okay, this is gonna be flash in the pan. And out of all the ones they tried, like 3 worked, and that's Miles, Gwenpool, who's another whole other story, and that's a meta joke thing too. But and then probably, other than Miles, the best out of them is Ms. Marvel, Kamala Khan. That character's awesome, and I could see if Sony made enough off of this, and their like relationship with Marvel is amicable enough, maybe they could license Ms. Marvel as an animated feature, because I think that character in this kind of thing would be perfect. But yeah, it's a pretty simple comic booky story. Like, oh, we got to stop the big bad machine and send everybody back home. And in the course of it, Miles learns what it is to be a Spider-Man, a Spider person.
And just a quick note on the soundtrack too, because yeah, I mean so that's definitely what you just said. It's pretty basic. I got to learn to be Spider-Man, but you know what? It doesn't have to be subversive.
No,
it can just be a good Spider-Man story.
Yeah.
As for the soundtrack, there was a bunch of stuff that I was listening to it thinking, oh God, I'm old. I have no idea what any of this is. And then I think there was like a Wu-Tang track or something, and I immediately he goes to visit his uncle.
Yes.
And I thought, holy crap, this is music that I know. And it's funny because his uncle would be about
our age, yeah,
or a little bit older, and this is the stuff he would have listened to. So I felt that I appreciated that they were able to get the soundtrack right based on who was listening to the music.
It was we're gonna license tracks to try to like, because it's Sony Pictures, so of course they're gonna use Sony artists, but it's like the people making the movie at least were like, well, we're gonna have the tracks play at appropriate times.
Make sense.
Not like Captain Marvel.
Yeah. I don't have anything else on this one. You?
No, it's just a really fun. If you haven't taken the time yet, and it's been there, like it's been there in your mental queue, if not your Netflix queue, watch it on a rainy day for sure. And it's totally worth it.
And I think it's also worth noting that at no point did I feel like, okay, for something animated, this is getting too childish.
No.
The
animation is there because they want it to have an art style, and they want certain things to look a certain way.
Because otherwise it would end up looking like Doctor Strange, and I've already seen Doctor Strange. But it is appropriate for younger viewers, but I never felt that, unlike the Ninja Turtles from 1990, that there was too much of a tonal disparity at any time in the movie.
And it's full of like Miles, even though he's the replacement, he's the Poochie Spider-Man for all intents, is a very likable character.
Yeah. That's it. Thanks for listening. We'll be back soon. And that Punisher episode that I teased is still in the works, so we will do that at some point, hopefully in the near future. Thanks for listening.